other wells, there'll be much smaller interest, over the entire parish, but they'll start coming in, and all those will add up. There are a lot of smaller interests, but they will be adding up in the future. So the bonus money has been coming in, but now the royalty money is going to start coming in. So any questions? Ms. Lake?
A couple of weeks ago, you gave us some other figures. Can you give us those again?
That was a bonus sale for 780 something. Yeah, so 95,000. Yeah.
Okay.
That was for bonus for leases.
Was there another one?
No, that was just one.
Okay. And then the one, what is the 166 for? You said 166?
That's the well name is the Parish number 30.
Okay.
That's the well that, I don't know if you went to when we went and toured the well down there. That's the well that was drilling at the time.
Okay. And what was the second figure you gave?
The Dixie well was $57,000. Okay. That's the third month of production there.
Okay. Well, I thought it was another, like 100 and something thousand. So it's just these three so far this year. Seems like there was one other one.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's just these three?
Those are the three, the two big wells that we've had that actually got production off of. We've got several other smaller wells that don't generate that much money.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, no, we did have, that's the 795,000. The sale, the lease for 88 acres.
Okay.
That's the 700,000.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
That all, Commissioner Lynch?
Yes.
Commissioner Epperson?
Now, these funds are going in the oil and gas fund, right? The 790,000 and this 166,000.
Yes, sir. Mr. Thibodeau.
Didn't we get a royalty check for about $125,000?
That was the first 2 months of the Dixie well. That was like, I think 2 months ago. That Dixie well, saying that was the third month of production.
But we got that in January, though, didn't we?
Right.
So how much was that one? That's another
2 months of production on that. This 30 well has 2 months of production on it. When they first come in, you're usually going to get there's a delay between, when the first production comes online and they actually pay you.
So since the first of the year, we received 125.
Correct.
166.
Right.
57.
Right.
And then 795 on a lease
Correct.
bonus. Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was wondering. Right. Thank you.
Mr. Cox?
I was absent Monday. We had made a trip to Fort Worth. Was any of the commissioners that went, did y'all give them a little update on that? Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Wilson? I'm sorry, Mr. Thibodeau? Before we move on to your presentation, I'm just curious, have you attempted to see if we could keep these two employees, if there's something that would entice them to stay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We didn't have the authorization to go to the degree at which their new jobs would give them in terms of wages.
Well, can you let us know what it would take here sometime today, maybe, and
yes, sir.
let the commission decide if that's something we might want to consider?
Yes, sir. I'll be glad to share that.
These are two very good people, and
I agree.
Unless we're talking about some absorbent amount of money, I think we need to protect our investment in both of them.
Okay, sir. So I'll be glad to entertain that with you. Before I get into my report, Commissioners, good afternoon again. I was asked to give you an update on the new coroner's building on Hearn Avenue, and that is currently under renovation. The architect is in the design phase, and you all appropriated $425,000 to renovate the rear portion of the building on Hearn Avenue for the coroner's new location, and the coroner also put in $150,000 of his own money into that project. We think construction will be completed around the 15th of March. The construction documents will be completed around 15th of March. The bid date will be completed 15 April, and we think it will take 4 months, and the estimated completion month will be August the 30th. The coroner will be relocating from the C building on Crestwell Street to the new location on Hearn Avenue. And as you know, we have been talking to the Veterans Department. They're being displaced with the relocation of the annex building, which is going to be demolished, and they need a place to house their operation. They approached us and they took a look at this building. They would need half of that building, and we're looking at trying to make that happen for them so the veterans can have a way to get in and out the building. It has a ramp and free parking, and that's a major issue that they would be contending with. Okay? All right. Peter, could you switch me in?
Mr. Epperson?
Mr. Wilson, on the veterans relocating there,
Yes, sir.
we provide a small stipend to them, don't we?
Yes, sir. $30,000. Yes, sir.
Okay, if they are to locate there, will we have to do any special renovations, or is there a possibility of something that's already existing that they may utilize?
This move will require no renovation at all. Matter of fact, they're drooling over the idea of getting in that building. And we just renovated it prior to the coroner moving in there about a year or so ago. So everything meets their requirement.
Or would that timetable with the coroner moving in be palatable before the Veterans Administration too, or that's something they'd have to speak with someone else about?
No, sir, that timetable will work for them. I met with them 2 weeks ago, and we discussed timetable, and they could live with this.
Thank you, Mr. Epperson. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Okay, Commissioners, I've been asked to put together a little brief presentation today concerning the 2010 bond initiative and renewal. And first of all, I'd like to thank the viewing audience and the citizens of Caddo Parish for their exceptional support in supporting the 2007 bond initiative that was passed on May 5th in 2007. That measure has been a tremendous success for us and has given us the resources to accomplish our must-need and urgent capital projects. We told the citizens at that time what we would do with the money, and I'm proud to say we did exactly what we say we would do with those funds. I put at your station a copy of all those projects that we said we would do. It totaled about 150 projects at $30 million. The debt service proposition of May 2007 was part of our strategic financial plan to accomplish capital projects and take care of some budgetary shortfalls that we have. The financial management plan is very sound business approach in taking care of our must-do capital project, and it provides the needed resources that enable us to shore up the criminal justice and the juvenile justice budgets. Today, I'd like to highlight for you and the viewing public the administration's recommendation for the proposed 2010 bond initiative and operating millage renewals. The objective of this particular renewal is based upon sound financial planning and operational reviews. It is necessary to continue the current debt service millage of 1.95 to fund the parish's ongoing capital improvement program. The advantages are as follows. This gives us a low borrowing rate, a competitive construction and project costs. Revenues are used to previously fund capital improvements on a pay-as-you-go basis, are used for operations such as the juvenile services. Decrease project delays because of lack of funding, which typically add about 17% to the construction costs of projects by not having the money in the past at one time to do the project. To offset the 1.95 mils, the Commission will reduce its property tax millage by 1.95. I just want to re-emphasize that, and I felt that was a bold move that this Commission Board has made to be willing to reduce the taxpayers' tax burden by 1.95 mil to coincide with this initiative. The effects of not maintaining a debt service millage rate. Projects would be delayed until we save enough funds with the parish's ongoing and long-term capital needs. Lack of funds could have a negative impact on our current financial position. Monies would not be available from other operating funds to fund criminal and juvenile justice. There will never be a time when we will not have capital projects to be done in the parish. As long as we have our doors open and servicing the public with our buildings, there will always be opportunities to make improvements and necessary maintenance upkeep for the facilities. The propositions are as follows. The first proposition is a $25 million bond issue to make capital improvements, which maintains the current debt service rate. This is actually a renewal at this 1.95 that we are proposing. The property tax renewal for maintaining and operating public health units, mosquito and rodent control and animal control is .90 mils. The third proposition is property tax renewal for maintaining and operating the juvenile court and detention facilities at 2.01 mil. And the fourth proposition is property tax renewal for maintaining and operating the parish's courthouse and other buildings, facilities such as the Bickham Building and the Government Plaza Building that we reside in now at 2.77 mils. And we are encouraging the board to move forward to put these propositions on the ballot of May 1st, 2010. Capital projects. Major capital projects will be funded with the debt to spread the cost over many years, and this will allow us to issue bonds as we need them, and we don't intend to issue all the bonds at one time. As you know, the May 2007 bond proposition was issued in 3 increments over 3 years starting in 2007. The parameters of the capital project is as follows. The acquisition of land, these are the things that you can use the capital money for, and I want to read that because I know for sake of time. And this last slide I have for you, which states that the capital projects will be determined through the approval of the capital project committee, which was created this year, and it will be responsible for approving what the administration brings before it in terms of capital projects. The level of indebtedness will be kept within the available resources and debt limitations established by the Louisiana law. Principal and interest on long-term debt will be serviced by a special ad valorem tax millage, which Louisiana law requires to be levied at the rate sufficient to meet the debt obligation, which simply says we cannot collect more than the debt is required to pay off the debt. The debt proceeds will be used to fund will not be used to fund current operation within the parish. That concludes the brief presentation of this issue. I'll be glad to entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Commissioner Lynch?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Let me just go to, and I have a few questions, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So let me go to the list where you have the highlighted projects. I'm going to go into facilities and maintenance first. Do we have the age of these particular equipment, the chillers,
Yes, ma'am.
boilers, and all of that?
We do have records of that, Commissioner Lynch, but I don't have it with me at this time. So what we do in assessing those needed replacement items, we look at the age of the equipment and the amount of maintenance we put into it.
Can you provide that information to us?
Yes, ma'am, we can. Commissioners, the second list that I passed out to you is the proposed projects going forward. The areas that I've highlighted in yellow is what I consider must-do projects. And even though I didn't take any of the projects off the list that the directors gave me, for example, some of these projects came from our master community recreational plan. It was left on the list because I still think it needed to be done, but that will be subject to the committee's approval whether or not we actually do those projects. But whether or not we get this bond issue passed, the highlighted areas will still have to be done at some time in the future, and we'll need a way to pay for it.
Okay. So how many different ways have we explored that these can be paid for without increasing property taxes?
Well, one obvious measure, Commissioner Lynch, is the operating funds is insufficient in most of these funding, with the exception of public works, to pay for any sizable project. And that's why in the past, prior to May 2007, we relied exclusively on riverboat boating fees to pay for some of these projects.
Okay, so existing funds,
Yes, ma'am.
oil and gas,
Um,
reserve trust, general fund, are there no other options?
Ma'am, the funds that you mentioned are always options, but the administration staff is operating under the premises that we don't have access to the oil and gas funds. So with that in mind, we still have to look at way to fund these projects, and there's not enough funds sufficient in the general funds to pay for a sizable capital project going forward.
How much do we have in the general fund that's unencumbered?
Commissioner, we have about $8 million fund balance in the general fund, but you have to remember
Okay.
50% of it.
I just need the amount.
And then one
I'll
other
say-
point I'd like to say is that this initiative is not increasing taxes. It's maintaining the current debt service millage rate as well as you all are reducing other operating millages. So we are not asking for an increase in taxes.
That may be a difference in interpretation. I think it's increasing taxes. But, so you're saying that you all did not feel that you had access to the oil and gas fund?
That's correct, ma'am. I understand that money has been entrusted, and at this time, we are operating as though we don't have access to it because the use of those funds has not yet been determined. But obviously, if we didn't have any money, we would come to you and request those funds if those are the only ones available.
Okay, assuming that the debt millage has achieved what it was intended to pay off the debt for Government Plaza and whatever else was included in that, correct?
That was a separate...
Okay, what was this one for? The one that we're paying off, the one that's going off the books.
On this building?
Mhm.
It was a loan that we leveraged against the riverboat boating fees to pay off the debt on the loan.
Okay.
It wasn't bond money.
So I was saying it would go to zero. Once the debt is gone, the millage is gone.
Yes, ma'am. That's
Okay,
correct.
so it would be at zero.
The debt will go at zero because it was a loan and it was
Okay.
paid off last year.
Let me go over some figures with you, if I can, Woody.
Yes, ma'am.
In 2007, and I would go back to 2006, but I'm going to start in 2007 because that's when you were you came in as the administrator at the end of 2006, I believe. So I'm going to start with your budget message for 2007. We had a year-end general fund balance of $6.6 million. An excellent economic outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Our citizens had the budget included a 3.8 increase in property tax revenues from $39.5 million to $41 million. Sales tax revenues were budgeted up at a 3.4% increase as well. One of the things that you talked about in 2007 was to develop a true vision that will chart our course towards enhancing the quality of life for the citizens of Caddo Parish, and one that embraces the entire community. This vision should provide a clear plan of where we want to be in the next 5, 10, and 15 years, and will be our roadmap as we continue our journey towards the future. Secondly, was to establish a Vision 2020 committee that is comprised of commissioners, citizens, civic groups, and business and community leaders to help develop our vision. Thirdly, was to develop a sound strategic plan to help implement our vision. And fourth was to integrate the budget process into our strategic plan. Okay. In 2008, we were told our budget was structurally sound.
Mm-hmm.
We thank the citizens for approving the financial plan, which was the bond renewal and 2 rededications. That financial plan was urgently needed, and it gave the parish the ability to address its infrastructure needs in a sound and prudent manner that would ultimately save money and do all of those wonderful things that we do without raising or creating any new taxes. Okay? The administration will continue to exercise sound fiscal fiscal management across all departments' budgets to ensure that we are able to rapidly respond to changing service demands within the existing resources. Again, economic outlook is bright. General fund balance was $8.2 million. Again, we experienced a 6% increase in property tax revenues from between '07 and '08. Sales tax, 2.7% increase. The property tax millage rededication removed some restrictions that would allow us to use the tax millage funds for needed roads, bridges, solid waste, drainage, and criminal justice. The sales tax rededication would allow us to use the sales tax for capital and operations. 2008, fund balances are still going up. We're in pretty good shape. 2009, excellent economic outlook, especially given the Haynesville Shale. 4% increase in property tax revenues, $44 million to $45.8 million. Sales tax increase, 5%. In 2009, we had budgeted $200,000 for oil and gas revenues, which I think we ended up getting $11 million that particular year. Fast forward to 2010. The bond renewal, which was from 2007, has served us well and has enabled us to accelerate the completion of capital projects on our 5-year capital plan. We talked about the money we got on lease bonus, which I believe was cumulatively about $35 million between '08 and '09, if I'm not mistaken. It was
in the 30 range.
Yeah.
Okay. The oil and gas, 33.
About $33 million. You wanted to put some more in reserve trust, which happened. Oil and gas funds, okay, to be invested in our future. Again, excellent economic outlook. There was an 8.7% increase in property tax revenues from $45.9 million to a projected $49.9 million, basically $50 million for 2010. This increase is a result of new properties added to the tax roll. The assessment has increased 9.1% since 2007. 15% increase in sales tax revenues, and that was after there was a 50% increase in sales tax collections in 2008. Okay, basically it went from about $6 million to over $12 million in 1 year. For 2010, we conservatively, or should I say the administration conservatively estimated $1.2 million for the oil and gas fund, oil and gas revenues, which, based on the checks that we've gotten so far up until February 4th, are basically almost $1.2 million. So we're already there, and we're not even 2 months into the year.
That's correct.
My question is, Woody, can the parish live within its means? Can we live within what we have based on the bonds that were sold in 2007, the last of which I know have not been dedicated, as I appreciate it, to any particular project, with the money that are currently in the oil and gas fund, with more money coming in? Are you saying that without borrowing more money to keep a millage in place for 20 years, that there is no other way for us to pay for any of these projects that are on this list without a property tax millage?
Commissioner Lynch, as painful as this answer may come out, we do have other options, but you have to give me those options. Because what I'm being told by this board is that operate as though you have no access to those oil and gas monies. Now, obviously, if for whatever reason, if this measure didn't pass, which I think is a good plan for many reasons, because a lot of the things that you read is very true. And let me say, the increases that have been coming in has been coming into funds that have been dedicated primarily public works. And we cannot use those funds to move it where we need to do capital projects.
But that's what the rededication was for.
Yes, ma'am, but it's only part of the sales tax
I understand.
from the road tax.
It only put it to criminal justice. It did not allow unlimited use, the rededication. The rededication.
Ms. Lacy, you have one final question. I don't want to be a stickler, but we need to move with our meeting. Our bylaws provide 5 minutes per commissioner on an issue. We're going on 12, so could we finish with Mr. Wilson? I have several other people who'd like to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I address just about, also about living within our means? This initiative that we're putting before you is living within our means because the commission is then reducing taxes by 1.95 mil. So we're not increasing taxes, we're actually reducing in order to pay it through the funds that we're already getting in. So we are saying that we're doing these projects within the money that we have within our means. We're not asking the taxpayers for additional money to pay this. We're actually saying, hey, we're going to give this money back to you from our other millages. So we are living within our means with this plan. Yes, you could do some other options, but we are using the monies that the taxpayer is giving us and then using it for that. We're not using additional money.
The ordinance today, and I know you're in a sales mode. I'm not in the sales mode. I'm on the end of,
Yes, ma'am, I understand.
on the side of the people who have experienced a 27% increase in property taxes last year, and who have consistently, whether it's 3% or 4% or 5%, have experienced an increase in property taxes. And the ordinance and what is going on the ballot is not a reduction in property taxes. I understand what this resolution that's on the agenda says, but the ordinance, what is legal and what is binding as of today and as of May the 1st, depending on what happens, is what is the law. Now, our intentions, of course, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Our intentions may be one thing, but what is legally binding is this millage that we are talking about putting on the ballot on May 1st. And without that millage being on the ballot, their property taxes will be reduced today. I'm not talking about playing a shell game. We'll be moving, things around.
Yes.
I'm saying effective when that debt is paid off, or I guess it's already paid off, their property taxes are reduced now, not through some shell game that we're potentially promising to pay, and so depending on your degree of how much confidence and trust and faith you believe politicians, some of who will be here to deal with that, and some who will not be at the time when these decisions are being made. I guess that's something that's up to
Yes, ma'am.
But my last question is, from 2002 until 2010, our property tax revenues have gone from $33 million to $50 million. Our sales tax revenue has gone from 2007 to $6 million to over $12 million in 2008 and over $10 million, over $10 million in 2009. Where has all that money gone? Where have those revenues gone? Where have the interest from that money gone?
Well, let me assure you that all the monies that we received are here in various accounts across all of the 18 funds that we have, operating funds as well, and not a dime has been spent without this body's approval. So we have those funds. Some funds had proliferated exponentially because of how the money came in. For example, we talked earlier about the Haynesville Shell activity. A lot of those point-of-use sales tax revenues benefit solid waste and public works. So if you look at their budgets over the past 4 or 5 years, it's been going up tremendously.
They've been increased.
Yes, ma'am. And we had
As the money has increased, the budgets have increased.
and we had increased the output as well, because we went from, for example, our life cycle repair on roads has been 20 years, we're down to 15 years, because we've been able to put more money into road repairs exponentially. And a lot of this also is driven by the fact that in 2004, the board took unilateral action to freeze everything across the board, and one of those funds that was Public Works that had sufficient funds, so they just accumulated and even grew larger than what we would ordinarily have done if we were able to spend the money out of there. So everything that has come into Parish has been properly accounted for, and we have 18 funds, and 15 out of the 18 are dedicated. We don't have the liberty to move it from one account to the other, and we may have a lot of money in Public Works, but we can't take it out of there and put it
But the rededication allowed us
only...
to speed up our plans according to...
Yes, ma'am, only what relates to the rural road taxes.
And only
They have a
to
lowering
cover
tax
just-
coming into their department.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But that has helped us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we move on, I'm going to respectfully ask everyone, if you're not familiar with our own rules of procedure, to read them. We're allowed to speak 5 minutes on any one issue. If the consensus of this body wants to change, there's right here, Article 4, Rule 5. If you want to change the rules, Policies and Personnel Committee can meet at any time, and it's a majority of this body. So out of respect for each other, let's abide by them. I also would like to point out, too, I know you have questions for Mr. Wilson. Mr. Thibodeau is chairman of this committee, and I've discussed it, and we are going to he's going to call one more meeting of the Capital Improvements Project Committee before the public hearing and final vote on this, because many, many of us have concerns. I would encourage everyone, whether you're on that committee or not, to attend so we can clear all these questions up and get all these things out. Pardon me? Okay. Next, Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, I believe the capital projects chairman is Mr. Pearson, but what I was asking for, what I was going to ask you to do as president between now and the 18th, which is our next regular meeting, would be to call a special meeting so that everybody can get all of their questions asked. I know I still have some questions I'd like to ask, and I believe I said this from the first time we ever talked about this, that if we can't guarantee the taxpayers a real benefit from this, then I'm not number one, in my district, I don't think it could pass right now. And it's not because of what we've done. It's because of what I believe were some pretty outrageous assessments that came down last year. And there was a lot of people who, paid $3,000 and $4,000 and more dollars in taxes than they had paid in the prior year. And, I can't look at anybody with a straight face at this point in time and say, I want to support this. But that's why, and I feel like there's some other commission members here who have a lot of questions and concerns, and I don't think we're going to get them taken care of in a meeting like this. I think we need a special meeting, and I would request that the president call that special meeting, and if that's the will of the commission.
Mr. Thibodeau, I think there's enough concern. The clerk will find a date, and we'll call a special meeting of this body, which will be publicized. It will not be a committee meeting, it will be a committee of the whole, and it won't meet as the Capital Improvements Committee. It will be specifically called to discuss this bond initiative, whether or not it needs to go out on the ballot or not. And I'll give, if anybody has any conflict dates over the next 2 weeks, let me know within 24 hours so we'll try to do the best we can. Is that acceptable? Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Commissioner Dominic.
Well, if we're going to have a meeting, then I'll just reserve my questions for at that time.
Commissioner Epperson. I just have quick questions. The 1.95 mills that we will reduce the property tax millage to the citizens, as an example, say a $200,000 assessment, how much would that equate to in dollars? Anyone have a calculator?
Well, the
Yeah, she just
answer
got,
that.
she just went and got it. Get her calculated.
Well, we'll come back to
$1,000.
that. Okay, on proposition number 3, property tax renewal for maintaining and operating juvenile court and detention facilities.
Oh, yes, sir.
In the talking points that I had, we stated that there will possibly be a 2.3 mil deficit in the juvenile justice fund. Is this the same fund?
Yes, sir, it is. Because systematically, we have always rolled back, and the original millage levy back in 1957
Right.
is now down to 1.89.
Okay, so would that 2.01 that they are doing, would that alleviate that 2.3 mil deficit in the future?
No, sir, it won't.
Will not.
No, sir, it will not.
Okay.
That 2 mil generated about 2.4 million, and the annual operating expense for juvenile is 5.6, roughly.
Yeah, we just got that hanging though. Some point in time, we have to address that. On the capital projects, construction of or addition to a facility, the things that we can do, such as public building, road infrastructure, playground, etc.
Yes,
When we
sir.
say road infrastructure, are we just talking about road overlays and improvements? Or what about some drainage in here? I gotta have some drainage.
Yes, sir. We can do drainage as well, sir, Mr. Jefferson. And it does. Matter of fact, we put in about $2 million of bond money for the last 3 years in the road projects. But for the express purpose of being able to take $2 million out of one account to put into the criminal justice account. But you can't use that money for road and drainage projects. Yes, we can.
Okay. On the proposed election of 2010, where we have the highlight on the public works,
sir.
and I see the asterisk stating criminal justice, some drainage can be included in that.
Oh, yes, sir. Because we have a
We have a separate drainage.
we have a lot of projects that we have had in the past. For example, one come to mind is the North Ferry drainage study that takes care of the drainage issue on the Ellaby Road and Bagley Road. When we did that assessment about 5 years ago, the engineering analysis came back to $55 million to be able to accomplish that particular project. So we have a lot of projects throughout the parish. We can spend every dime we have in it and just put a margin within it. But we are sensitive to the fact that we have to prioritize those repairs and do what we can with the resources that we have available to us.
Thank you, Mr. Epson. Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah, I just have one quick request. When we have this meeting, could the staff provide us with a blow-up or something of the breakdown? In other words, when I get my Caddo Parish tax bill of all the different entities that are involved.
Yes, sir.
Because I think a lot of people look at it and say Caddo Parish, and then they look at the 12 of us, when we only represent 17% of what that money, paid out is. And I think
That's
if
correct.
something people could see, that might help out.
You and I talked about the other day?
Pardon?
You and I discussed the other day
Right.
about the bars?
Right.
Yes, sir, we can provide that.
Yeah.
Because
something
we only,
like that.
you're right, we only get 17.9%. School will get 56%, and other agencies 9.8, 6.6. So by the time they get to Mr. Robert Glass to do a road, it's only 8.3. Well, not very much.
I think that would be helpful to everybody concerned.
Yes, sir, we'll do that.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Okay, thank you, Commissioners.
Okay, this time we have comments from the citizens. I have some cards. If you have not filled a card, please fill one out. I'm going to call your name up. If you have to speak on a zoning matter, do not come up until the case is called. I'll call you and let you know at that time. Your rules are a little different. You get more time on zoning matters. First, we have Mr. Kevin McCotter. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Kevin McCotter, 333 Texas Street, room 1100, and that's in Shreveport, 71101. Thank you all very much for the time this afternoon. I wanted to come. It was a real pleasure today for Chesapeake to issue the first royalty check for the Caddo Parish 30H-1 well, which, if you'll remember, you considered very carefully and allowed us to build that road site and pad site in Eddie Jones Park last March. Following that approval, then, we started building our location, and we moved our rig in July, and then we completed that well in early October. So we were very pleased to deliver that first royalty check, and thank you very much for the cooperation. We felt like that everything went very smoothly there. We were able to make a terrific road improvement. Along the way, we paved a parking lot for Chip Haven to demonstrate our relationship there with them to be a good neighbor. And I'm excited now to let you know that we're moving another rig into that location just this week to start drilling the 30H-2 in Eddie Jones Park. From that perspective, that's what's going on at Eddie Jones. Chesapeake and the Haynesville Shale, I'm very pleased to announce that we're currently operating 38 rigs throughout this magnificent 3.5 million acre shale area. We've continued to receive outstanding results and look forward to continued results in the future, especially in Caddo Parish and throughout northwest Louisiana. If there's ever anything at all that we can do at Chesapeake to address any concerns or any issues that constituents may have, then certainly we're always available for that. We participated in Commissioner Epperson's district meeting last week and talked to a lot of folks and updated them on our activities in his district and leasing activities as well as from an operational perspective. So with that, thank you again so much for your consideration and permission and the privilege to operate in Eddie Jones Park. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cotter.
I have
Our rules do not allow questions. Never have. Thank you. Next, we have Bobby Sutton, Jr. Is he here?
Zoning.
It's on zoning. I assume, let's see, Kenneth Myers, is that on zoning? Pardon me? No? Please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Kenneth Myers, and I live at 10340 Freeman Drive, Keithville. And listening to talk today, it sounds like y'all still haven't decided what you wanted to, but I came down to say that before y'all make any decisions about rolling back taxes, that y'all figure out what your budget's going to be so you don't end up with egg on your face like Baton Rouge did when they cut revenues before they cut the budget, or our neighbors across the river. I live in a rural area, and Mr. Smith can verify it. Our roads are falling apart with all the gas traffic going up and down there. I also serve on a water study committee, and we have some serious water problems in our rural area. We need to be looking at trying to get some surface water for those, so I'm not sure how that's going to fall into this, but before we cut our revenues, I would like to see the parish develop a plan of attack to do what they want to. And it sounds like there's a whole bunch of questions up here that we have a lot of money, but it's tied up in places it's not doing us any good, that we might could use it somewhere else. So that's basically all my comment was going to be.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address this body on any matter other than zoning? Very good. Thank you. All right, we'll have our public hearing on ordinances, please.
Well, you have to zoning things. Yeah,
I'm sorry,
zoning, we have a zoning public hearing, zoning ordinance.
I see that. Let's have it, please.
P16, Larry Lynn and Sheila Kimmel applicants requesting rezone 37 acres off Roy Road
Okay.
for mobile home storage and repair.
Case P16. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this? State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Bobby Sutton, Jr. I am here on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Kimmel. My office address is 1027 Jordan Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton.
The Kimmels are asking for permission. This is currently zoned as residential agriculture RA to store, well, the Kimmels, first of all, have a business in which they sell used mobile homes in South Shreveport. What they do is they purchase mobile homes oftentimes in bulk and then sell these. The problem is where they have their business in South Shreveport, there's only room for 11 mobile homes, and oftentimes they have some excess mobile homes that they need to store. So what they do is they store them next to their home. They own 37.17 acres that is off of Roy Road Extension. I do have some photographs and things that I think would show the area that I can present to the council. But in essence, all of the homeowners around the Kimmels have signed off saying we have no objection to this because where they live, their property is surrounded by woods on all four sides. And they have placed these mobile homes where they are not visible from the street from either side by their neighbors. Attached to the original request for zoning are signatures from the neighbors who say, we can't see the mobile homes from our property and we have no objection to it. All but one, and that is the Washburns. The Washburns live directly across the street from the Kimmels property. The Washburns oppose it. When I first looked at this, I thought, well, maybe they're looking at the mobile homes. However, in going out there, and I think Mr. Dominic has actually been out to the site and looked at it, and he can attest to it as well, I had photographs taken from the Washburns' view towards my client's property. And all they see is woods. You would think at this time, we're in the winter months, trees have lost most of their leaves, and this would be the time when you would see mobile homes, if they were parked behind some trees. However, these photographs show that you can't see them, period. In looking at home businesses, one of the things that the ordinances look at is what you plan to do compatible with residential use. In this case it is, because it has no impact on the neighbors. Is it limited in scope? Mr. Kimmel is going to be the only one out there. There's no additional workers who are going to be working on the mobile homes. He's a one-man operation. So there's not going to be additional traffic on the street. This isn't a sales facility, so he's not going to have any signage or anything else on this site that would draw traffic to the area. There's no noxious fumes, there's no loud noises, there's nothing that is going to detract from that area. It's simply a matter of moving mobile homes in until space is clear on his sales lot and then moving them out. One of the things you could say is, okay, well maybe there's increased traffic on the road. Well, it's a private road and it's maintained by Mr. Kimmel and his neighbor. Both Mr. Kimmel and his neighbor say we will continue to maintain the road. The neighbor says I have no objection to that. So that is not really a reason to deny that. This is not asking for a mobile home dumping grounds because these are being moved in, repaired, and then moved out. So it's a short-term turnaround. I would like the Commission to note that on the Washburns filing of opposition that there is nobody signing it who live on Rob Roy Extension with the exception of the Washburns. Everyone else lives in a subdivision that is a distance away from that road. There are two, one of which lives on North Market and one of which lives on Old Morningsport, which is probably close to 2 or 3 miles away from where we're talking about. When you send out notices, you've got a 500-foot circle that you send out notices to of the zoning change application. In this case, the Washburns are the sole people who have opposed it. And when you look at the facts of this case, there's no real reason for their opposition. It doesn't detract from their property value. It doesn't do anything to them.
Mr. Sutton, excuse me one moment. Let me ask something. Is there anyone here who else is going to wish to speak in favor of this? Okay, continue, because
I have some of the neighbors
you
here.
have 15 minutes, and you've eaten up 6 of it, so if anybody else wants to speak, I'd ask you to be aware of that, because we're not going to go over.
Can I reserve time after the opposition speaks?
No, Well, if there will be questions probably asked by members of this body.
Okay. Well,
You've got the remainder of 15 minutes, you and everyone with your position. So
Okay.
you spend it how you want to spend it. I'm giving you fair warning.
I have with me Mrs. Sims, who is a secretary of the church on Rob Roy Extension, who will state they can't see the mobile homes and have no objection to it. I've got Ms. Whiteskig.
If you want them to state that, invite them up here and have them state it, please.
Why don't Ms. Sims and Ms. Whiteskig?
Just give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Donna Sims. I am one of the ministers at Northwood Baptist Church. The church actually is on the corner of Roy Road Extension and North Market. However, the church also owns a rental house property directly behind their church property, borders on Roy Road, that they have to come down the property. Our property extends over. We cannot see anything. The only thing you see is if they come down the road, and that's definitely not usually during any time in particular. You can't see it. It doesn't deter. It doesn't tear up the road. It doesn't create anything. So it definitely doesn't do anything. And the church owns 5 acres. Plus, we own another acre that our rent house property that borders on that property is directly behind it. It's not visible. We have absolutely no objection to it. And I know the Kimmel family well. I've known them for about 10 years. And I know them to be people of their word. And so what they're going to do with this is exactly what they'll do with it.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Janice Weisgood. My address is 4809 Roy Road Extension. I live just up from Jerry and Sheila. They are my closest neighbors. And we've been out there since 1993. And over that amount of time, we have maintained the road that we live on by getting gravel and patching the holes and things that appear as they appear, just from normal usage of the road by everyone who lives back in there. And Jerry and Sheila, as Mr. Sutton had said, began to bring some mobile homes out there just this past year in an effort to continue his business. He's been in the mobile home moving business for a long time, and parked them out there. And when the leaves are on the trees and everything, you don't see them at all. They are not a bother to us at all. They're just, it's just people trying to make a living, and we are not bothered by the traffic on the road. There's not any, hardly, and then you moves them in or moves them out, and it's not that often. And so we are just in full favor of him being able to continue his business and have the rezoning take place there. Thank you.
Very good. Are you gentlemen going to express similar comments? Yes. You're for it? You're for it? Very good. We'll duly note that. Please proceed, Mr. Sutton.
And again, I would offer these photographs that are of the area showing that it's wooded around and not visible from anywhere else. And so thank you for the time that you have allotted me. The one thing I would note, if there is some concern that this is going to allow, in essence, a graveyard for mobile homes, one of the things that you could certainly do is put a time period on which a mobile home can remain there, say 180 days maximum, and that would ensure that something wasn't dumped there and left. So, again, I would offer these, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Mr. Arnold Washburn, did you want to speak for this or against this? Against. One second. Is it anyone else for this? Okay. Please come forward, Mr. Washburn.
I was the Washburn. He was talking about, they brought their big guns today, didn't they?
Name and address for the record.
My name is Arnold Washburn.
Thank you.
I live at 4849 Roy Road Extension. I've lived there for 30 years.
All right, very good.
And all I want to do is reiterate what I said last time. The road is not, it's not substantial. It's just a gravel dirt road that I built, And these maintenance people, they filled up holes in it since they've been out there.
But I built all all the roads and all. But anyway, it's a safety issue too, And I'm not, I'm not against progress, but, if y'all, Mr. Cox said last week, he asked about the road, but there's no way y'all can control the road or see after or repair it or anything else, is it? I mean, it's a private road, I don't maintain it.
Not a private road, no.
Okay. But, and one more thing is, if y'all will send somebody out every once in a while to check on them, like 180 days, that's fine. Because I think it's going to be a junkyard, that's what I think it's going to end up being, And how many has he sold, here lately? All you got to do is find out how many he's sold and how many he's moved in and so forth. And that will find out how much he's done. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Washburn. Anyone else here to speak in opposition? Mr. Sutton, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you care.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot to rebut, because I, in effect, heard him say, if you put in the 180 days, that would be fine. And that's something that we have come up with, Mr. Kimmel is trying to get along with all his neighbors, and all of them except the Washburns were already on board, but if that's what it takes to get Mr. Washburn on board, we would love to do it. Thank you very much.
Kirkland, does the MPC have anything they'd like to say? Okay. Commissioner Lynch, are you on here? No? Any commissioners?
We have to talk.
Yeah, when the motion comes.
Pardon me?
We're at public hearing.
Yeah,
we're public hearing. We'll do it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I got a little lost. All right, we'll get back on this. Okay, that concludes that. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir. Public hearing on regular ordinances. The first is ordinance 4960, revokes dedication of East Dixie Meadow Road.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Next item, please.
Ordinance 4961 declares certain adjudicated property to be surplus, authorized sale of tax interest therein.
Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone opposed? All right. Next item, please.
Ordinance 4962 abolishes Water Works District Number 1.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay, next item, please.
Go back to your zoning.
There we are, zoning case for appeal, final passage. We have a motion. Anyone?
I move that we move forward with adoption of the ordinance.
Move forward with what? Grant?
In
favor of the applicant's request?
Uphold the MP's request to allow the rezoning.
You move forward to support the MPC's position. Moved by Mr. Dominic and seconded by Mr. Thibodeau to uphold the ruling of the MPC. Okay, Mr. Dominic, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I would just say a few things. That Mr. Kimmel, again, initially contacted me on this, and we've talked several times. I did go out and view the site today. I'm a little uncertain where is Robert Glass. Can you tell me where our road would end? I know that Roy Road extension goes out, but I was unclear where our portion would end on that. Do you have any idea? I don't exactly remember where the bridge was, but it's a blacktop road, and I don't know if it looks like some of that blacktop may not be ours, but the road that turns off going into Mr. Kimball's residence, Mr. Washburn's residence, it's a dirt road. It has some gravel. It seemed to be in pretty good shape. As wet as it was, I could drive down there. There's no problem. It's a very rural area. He says he has about 40 acres, and when you're going down the road, if you look to the left, you actually have to look, and you can see the mobile homes out there, but looks like everybody pretty much has signed off and agreed to it, doesn't have a problem with it other than the one resident, so I don't see a problem. I know Commissioner Cullett's not here, so that was the only other issue. I would ask Mr. Grubb, is it possible to put a paragraph in our ordinance that would say that he would only have up to 180 days to have a mobile home at the site?
Yep. The stipulation in the zone. Permit. Ain't amended,
Just asking a question. That's the only question I have right now.
No. Well, I see out here Mr. Kirkland may have a different opinion. Cancel that one.
And Mr. Kirkland, I'm correct that the MPC voted 7-0 to uphold the rezoning of this issue, is that correct?
Absolutely. You could put some sort of limitation like that, but my first question would be, why? Because he presumably is going to be constantly moving in up to a maximum of 22 units for repair. And most of these, and obviously, will be in disrepair when they come in. Now, we could do some sort of a list, if you would, that Mr. Kimmel would have to provide us of some plate numbers or whatever, but then we'd have to be going out there every month to check the plate numbers on 22 units and what have you improved or not if you've got a lot of units in disrepair. Presumably, Mr. Kimmel will be repairing one or two at a time. We don't know what sequence, but he was asked originally to, when we were dealing with him several years ago, find your place out in the middle of nowhere where you can haul units in and fix them at your leisure.
Was he going to be repairing them there? As my understanding, he would just, whenever he sold one on Mansfield Road, he would move one of those. I don't know where...
As I understand, he was going to repair them as he could get to them and then move them probably to the Mansfield Road location for sale.
Is that correct, Mr. Kimmel? You'll be repairing them out there at your site?
Yes, sir.
But you won't be making a bunch of noise or anything when you're doing that?
They don't have motors or anything.
Have him come to the mic, please.
Come up, sir.
I just don't know of any easy way to monitor it, and I guess the benefit
I
will
won't be that
be,
issue.
there's still got 22 units.
If you're out there repairing them, what kind of noise would you be making that could
Well,
cause
there's zero noise, really. I mean, there's no engines to crank up like a car if you was working on cars or... And I'm in the middle of the woods, so if nobody can hear a hammer or a skill saw, which, you know, that's no different than working on your own house. You know, like I was telling Mr. Sutton, that the only thing that can see my mobile homes is probably airplanes and birds.
which doesn't make sense.
But it is. I mean, I'm in a remote area, and then in that 40 acres, I stuck them all the way to the very back, by my house, not by anybody else's. And this was before this all come up, you know, out of respect. I could have, you know, moved them around and tried to mess somebody up, but I wouldn't do that. I'm just trying to make a living. And I'm trying to help Mr. Smith.
That's in your, and that's in the back of your property, too. I mean, you
Very
own
back
that
of my
road, you're going to keep it in the back of your property.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any restrictions on that to where it will be on the back of his property, Mr.
Kirkland.
Kirkland, I'm sorry.
It's all right. People forget, I've only been there 25 years. No, sorry, Doug. The bottom line is, we do need probably, what Mr. Kimmel said is he'd keep them in the center of the track, but we really didn't have any specific tie-down, but we would be looking for a rough center of the track.
I did draw it in where I was going to store them.
Right.
And it is drawn in, it's that back corner where they are.
Let's see,
And there's a big wooded area between me and Washburn. You couldn't get nothing between me and them.
show on this
It's
map.
all wood. You know, you couldn't get a vehicle in there.
Let me get the fellows in the camera room to turn the document camera on, if they would, and then you can draw it on this map where it would be. All right, here's your road right here going in. The private road is from here to here, and where on there, if you would, just draw roughly where the 22 units would be.
Okay.
That's pretty much what that's pretty much where it's at right now.
Exactly.
Okay.
In my back corner.
Okay.
I don't have anything else, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Dominic. Mr. Cox?
Mr. Kimball, don't go too far.
Oh, okay.
Well, you and Mr. Kimball.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm probably the guy who threw a wrench in this last time it was before us, because for you to do something like this and not show up, I'm just telling you how I feel. This is my time. This is my time. I'm gonna be honest with you, for you and anybody else who's gonna come before us, anybody who has something like that needs to be here when you are submitting this. Second point, I live on Mansfield Road. I'm the commissioner in northern Southern Hills, and I have seen your place for years on Mansfield Road in disarray.
Well, I understand.
Okay, my time. What I need you to do is I'll vote for this. No problem. You're a businessman. I want to make tax money off you. You go do your business and be proud of it. But you also have a business on Mansfield Road. I'm going to be talking to you shortly about that business on Mansfield Road, because I'll be honest with you, I ain't real happy with it.
Well,
But all I'm going to tell you is, on this subject, I'll vote to pass it. But I can also tell you that if you turn that into a junkyard, I will be, I'll be watching. Thank you,
yes, sir. And that's one reason that I'm trying to do what I'm doing, because before I had nowhere to work on them or store the junkers. If I bought 10 trailers or one trailer, say, and say it's a piece of junk, there wasn't nowhere to go with it but straight out to the lot, and that made it look bad. Now, I understand your point completely.
I've had more people.
Most people don't like used mobile homes.
I don't have a problem with it.
You know.
I don't have a problem with it. All I'm saying is, do it the right way and get Mansfield Road cleaned up.
And one other thing I would like to say is nobody informed me of the meeting, or I'd have been here.
Did you apply for it?
Did I apply
Did you
for it?
apply for the first time in? You got notice.
Metropolitan Planning Commission.
You got notice when you applied the last time it came through here. You knew that date was here.
No, I never knew of no date. How would I know of a date?
Same way we would.
Our staff tells you.
But I never got to
Before us,
Listen to what was read.
if it's before us,
It
you
says
should
it
have
comes
known.
here.
All I'm saying is, you knew now, you came down and made a good case.
That's a moot point, gentlemen. Let's debate that. Next, Commissioner Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. With all due respect, I will not be able to support this motion, nor will I be able to support the MPC's decision to allow this use of the property. Ms. Wilson, Ms. McCulloch, I'm sorry, is not here today. That was a development of her mother's health, and that's the reason she's not here. She called to let me know that. She expressed her opposition to this at the work session on Monday. And one thing I've always tried to do, unless there was some kind of exceptional circumstances, is support the commissioner whose district is being affected by a move such as this.
Right or wrong?
And in her opinion, it appears that you're simply moving the problems that you got in one district into another district. And I'm inclined to agree with her to that extent. One of the things I would like to know, Mr. Kirkland or whoever can answer this question.
Did you need me? Mr. Jenkins got a question for you, sir.
Sorry, Mr. Jenkins.
Is Mr. Mashburn, is he the only person, Mr. Washburn, I'm sorry, Mr. Washburn, is he the only person living within the 500-foot notification area?
I'm sorry, what now?
Within that notification area, Mr. Washburn?
We send notices to the ones in that radius of 500 feet for our meeting. We don't send anything for your meeting.
No. Is Mr. Washburn the only person living within this 500 foot?
He was, right.
And he's the gentleman that expressed some opposition to
That's correct. That's correct.
And I also see in the packet where those persons who are living in the closest residential area, according to this map, there's a list of those people who have expressed...
Everybody within that 500-foot radius was notified.
Right. I understand, but I'm just...
Right, okay.
I'm moving to another point.
Yeah.
One point, we heard from someone who's in the notification area.
Right.
I think we may have heard from some people who may not be in the notification area. And I'm also looking at the fact that we have people who are in this residential section, very nice residential section up here, who have signed off some opposition to this development coming into the area. In deference to Ms. McCullough and her wishes, I'm going to support her in asking that the MPC decision on this does not move forward.
Right.
I really feel like what's happening is, I don't think any of us who have a district would want that. You wouldn't want if something was in my district that was drawing complaints or causing problems or was incompatible, I don't think you want me to push them, take it from there and put it over in your district. And I don't think we ought to do that to one another if we can. I think the resolution ought to first start with where he's at. Because I drove by there and I took a look at it too. And at some point when that was on, I'm sure there was some limitations put in place as to how many he could have there and what he was going to be doing there. That thing's coming almost out into the street. It could start back in a corner up here in this other district and at some point work its way all the way out in the street. I think the resolution ought to be to deal with the problem where it lies at this particular point in time. But I've always tried to be respectful of my colleagues and their districts, and I just don't think it's right because he having problems where he's at with dumping in somebody else's district. I cannot support the motion, and with all due respect to the MPC, because I really respect the work that they do, and I understand if they pass this, I cannot support their move on this one at all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Is there any more discussion on the motion? Thank you, gentlemen. If now we'll vote. Affirmative vote is to uphold the ruling of the MPC. No is to deny. Please vote. Passes. Next item.
Yes, sir. Ordinances for final passage. Ordinance 4960 revokes dedication of East Dixie Meadow Road.
Is anyone here? I'm sorry. Yes. So moved. Do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Thibodeau. Seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Any discussion on the motion?
It's mine. I may
Yes.
have missed this.
I'm sorry, Commissioner
I may have
Lynch.
missed this if I wasn't here Monday, but who is actually making the request? Who's making the request?
Mr. Glass, Mr. Whittington, whomever.
It is a group called the Partners at La Rouge that own both sides of the dedication.
Okay. Now, do we have a written request from them? Okay. Can we get a copy, please? I mean, I'd like a copy. Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Please vote. Passes. Next item, please.
Ordinance 4961 sells adjudicated property.
Is there anyone, do I have a motion? Moved by Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion on the motion? All right, vote please. Passes. Next item, please.
Ordinance 4962 abolishes Waterworks District Number 1.
So moved. Moved by Commissioner Dominic, seconded by Commissioner Lynch. Is there any discussion on this motion? All right, vote please.
That should be levied.
Okay. All right, that passes. Okay, next we have ordinances for introduction by title.
Yes, sir. Ordinance 4963 amends your health tax fund budget for a donation for animal services in the amount of $2,500. Ordinance 4964 amends your public works fund budget to accept a FEMA grant in the amount of $1,068,000 for 2010 moose and flood properties. Ordinance 4965 amends your riverboat fund budget to provide $32,000 to the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse.
Ordinance 4966, amends juvenile justice fund budget to establish probation program called Facts of Life in the amount of $50,000. That concludes introduction of ordinances.
Very good.
Next resolution, Resolution 12, orders a special election to be held in Caddo Parish for the incurring of debt, issuance of bond, and renewal of special taxes therein.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Moved by Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Any discussion on the motion? Pardon me? Hold it. Okay. Public hearing from the, these are resolutions. Are these resolutions for final passage?
Shouldn't be.
Pardon me?
Yes, sir, they don't lay over.
Take them one at a time.
Well, okay.
You can delay.
Been moved and seconded. Commissioner Epperson?
I'd like to make a substitute motion that this resolution be delayed until after the special meeting has been called by the chairman.
Been moved by Commissioner Epperson and seconded by Commissioner Jenkins that we delay passage of this resolution. We can have more time to take up the matter.
If I could point out to the commission, we're told that a 2-week delay would be okay. We could still make the legal deadlines by that, but that would be pushing it. So the bottom line is the commission does have 2 weeks in which to
Thank you. I believe that we were going to push it anyway. This is very important, and I sense that we're not going to let it go undone. Finished?
Finished. I think Mr. Pearson and I would like to withdraw our motion.
I withdraw the second.
All right, that's been. All we have is the amended motion on the floor. Let's look over. Would anybody like to discuss the amended motion? Commissioner Thibodeau?
I'd like to add resolution number 13 to number 12, if there's no objection. They both have to do with the millage. And
We'll amend the motion that reflects resolution 12 and 13 be deferred to our next meeting. Moved by Commissioner Thibodeau, seconded by Commissioner Jenkins. Would anyone like to discuss that motion?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner.
Let me make sure I'm clear on what the purpose of this special call meeting would be. If we could state that again, please.
We're going to discuss all the issues you brought up, and so did everyone else, and their concerns about whether or not we even need to do this. From what I understand. Get it wrong? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the motion? Let's vote, please. All right. Next, we have Resolution 14.
Yes, approved.
Been moved by Commissioner Thibodeau.
Second. I'd like it read, please.
Hang on. Okay.
Resolution 14 endorses a formal study of the feasibility of a water and sewer district with the responsibilities to provide water and sewer services in the city of Shreveport, Parish of Caddo, Parish of Bossier, and other entities in northwest Louisiana.
All right.
Thank you.
It has been read.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Moved by Commissioner Smith.
he wanted to make sure he
Seconded by Commissioner Thibodeau.
Jumped on that one, huh, Jim?
Yes, Smith, and seconded by Thibodeau. Okay, who wants, Commissioner Jenkins, I have you on here, yes or no?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Epperson?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay, in this motion, we are going to be doing a study relative to drinking water, right, and sewer disposal.
Regional Utility District. Yes.
Utility district.
Okay, no other surface water searches, problem with drainage, no comprehensive study.
This is embracing the idea.
We might can channel down into somewhere, and
we will make it happen.
purify that and make that good drinking water. Okay.
Absolutely. All right, Commissioner Epperson, thank you. Commissioner Lynch?
Is there any money tied to this? Or
No, this is a resolution that all parties support the idea.
Thank you.
All right, we have a discussion on this motion. Let's vote, please. That passes. Anyone else?
Moved it.
Okay, I will, hold up. What do we have?
Commissioner Thibodeau asked the administrator to address an issue, I think, at the end of the meeting. I don't know if he wanted to do it publicly or not.
No, I wouldn't want to do it publicly.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Cox. Sunday, Super Bowl. Who that? all over that.
There's going to be a pep rally down here. The city of Shreveport has graciously took the lead on this, and I would invite everybody down here to take part in the Northwest Louisiana support of the New Orleans Saints, the next Super Bowl champs.
Yay!
When you wear that shirt, is it a triple X? It is a triple X, by the way. You might be able to get it on. Okay, hold up, guys. Commissioner Thibodeau has something.
I was just going to ask Woody to email us the information on the two people that are leaving to see what or if we want to pursue trying to get them to stay. Just email that to us.
We have a meeting afterwards, right?
Right.
That's good. We do have a committee meeting after, for those of you on the committee. Mr. Spears, do you have something?
I just wanted to ask if you were thinking of calling the special meeting next week. You'll be working around the city on Monday and Tuesday, and the MPC on Wednesday, so just keep that in mind.
Well, we'll boot somebody out or work around it. We'll see. Thank you. All right, we're adjourned.